Don't you know what you're starting? But you sure we got the clue how that this we go. Don't you know, no more art. And as you look to the horizon, not a cloud, but then stormy weather's go too cold. Seems like it crept up out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You never see it coming. You see that my mind is too fast for eyes. You're done there, but the time is hit you, you're not surprised.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Dspnews, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the newsroom and welcome to the Galtopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. We're still working on the tagline. We are here today with Snort, Burnell, Dspgaming, Banhammer Emote, and 10 years of begging. Okay, so looking back on Phil's decade as a YouTuber slash content creator slash whatever, what did the man really accomplish? What did the man provide? Provide YouTube, the internet, even himself in some type of way, shape, or form that you could say or could somehow accumulate to being positive? For me, he's been something to laugh at for, not for 10 years because I haven't been watching that long, but he's been something to kind of get a chuckle at. He's also, I think from a more serious standpoint, is a cautionary tale. He is by far one of the reasons that people should not take the internet seriously or not take themselves seriously on the internet. I think Phil is a perfect example of that. The moment you start to believe that you are more than what you are as it pertains to the internet, you've kind of lost the fight. You've lost the battle. Now, most people have said, and I've said it at least at one time or another, that his willingness to keep doing it is admirable to some extent. But in truth, and after making X amount of videos that I've made, you come to realize that he doesn't have a choice. He really doesn't. He doesn't have any real options. He walked into this not having a plan. He said he kind of just fell into it. Fair enough. But when all the money rolled in, he had to have known that, you know what, I should save some of this. I should put some of this away. I should also be paying attention to the trends that's going on this platform that I'm making my living on, so I can understand what's going on and be able to move forward. I would say that for a lot of people on YouTube, to be honest. And instead, they made all their money. They thought they were greater than what they were. And instead of using the tools that YouTube provided them to grow their channels or to make their content better or help shape it, all they did was use it to lash out at the people who didn't agree with them. If Phil had spent less time trying to take people's channels and videos down and focused on himself, he might be alright. Now granted, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that he keeps throwing out that song and dance that, oh, I do only focus on my content and I don't watch anybody else, and how can I watch anybody else when I only have time to, when I don't have the time, when I'm only focusing on my own content? Well, if that's the case, then how is it that you have so much time to watch the WWE? What makes that so damn relevant? You know what I mean? So how is that even a point of conversation? I don't know. In any case, his 10 years, I think, was a bust. I think despite the money that he makes, despite the money that he has made at one time or another, it still results in nothing. It still doesn't hold any real weight. For all of the material that he has out online, it only just makes him look like a very lazy man-child. It makes him look inept. How is it that you have what some people would consider one of the easiest professions in the world, and actually it's not a profession, but whatever. He has one of the easiest jobs in the world, and he's blatantly fucking it up. He is blatantly fucking it up. And funny enough, he does it when he does screw it all up for himself, I should say. It's when he's not even playing the game. It's when he's sitting through his pre-streams. It's when he's having his emergency incident videos. Is when he really makes himself look like an asshole and he shows his ass. Don't get me wrong, he makes himself look like a complete and total piece of shit when he's actually playing the game, or games, respectfully. Excuse me. But in truth, it's when he opens his mouth is when he really hurts himself. More than anything else. I've always said that Phil is his greatest detractor. He has done more damage to himself than Tevin, the SOK, anybody could ever do combined. He has engineered his own downfall in such a way that even the greatest of architects couldn't have hoped for it to come down the way he did. And the thing is, right, is for some of you out there who are like, oh, well, he still makes $100,000 a year, can't be that bad. At what cost? At what cost can you not leave your own home whenever you feel like it? At what cost that you can't associate or talk to people because you're scared that they might be part of some 24-hour ops against you? At what cost that you can never go out and get a real job without a dedicated group of people looking to splatter your dirty laundry at any place he ever goes? At what cost that you yourself thought you were so great that the field that you went to school for is now so outdated that even if you could get a job, it would be at the very bottom. Because he didn't keep up with his field and he doesn't know what's going on. Where's his success at? You have a girlfriend in there that might not really be your girlfriend, who might be just a shield to make yourself not look weak. With the fact that Panda has moved on and is doing well for herself, which leads to an interesting theory that the only reason why he wanted Kat to get there so bad is so he didn't make himself look like a total asshole with Panda moving on. What are you going to do when you have a girlfriend who was getting kicked out by her previous boyfriend and only moved in with you because you were making more money than her ex-boyfriend? So, to be honest with you, she's not even going out with Phil. She's going out with his money, which isn't even his money. It's the money that belongs to these parents who these kids keep using credit cards so they can tip him and give him bits and shit. His life is an open book to everybody. That's what his 10 years represent. And he's a walking contradiction. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and go to this whole Banhammer emote. Phil has always said that he doesn't want any type of negativity as it pertains to an emote. And now, all of a sudden, he wants to have that hammer situation. Which is ironic, ladies and gentlemen, because Low Tier God has been banned for some strange reason. He's been banned permanently, I think. I think he's been perma-banned off of Twitch at the time that I'm recording this. Now, that's actually even more funny, or interesting, I should say, in the fact that Tut comes back, Low Tier God gets banned, and now DSP is last man standing. And all of a sudden, Phil has a Banhammer emote now too, which would effectively, not really, but would have the effect, at least within his own community, of that whole get that ass banned that whole get that ass banned emote that Low Tier God used to have. Interesting. It seems to me like he's trying to take the place of Low Tier God, who is someone that King Tut has publicly said that he enjoys his community, he enjoys his content. Now all of a sudden he's out the picture. And there is, even though the whole okay, there's a fun little theory. I think James the Lesser started it. That is it possible that DSP had Low Tier God banned because DSP does have connections, up top as it pertains to Twitch. Is it possible that he got Low Tier God banned so he could have Tut all to himself? Now, I had posed, I think we both did actually, but we'll give the credit to James. James the Lesser, I think, posed a similar theory to this the first time Low Tier God came back, and then he was banned for like a month, which wasn't too far off the mark because that, ladies and gentlemen, came after Phil. I'm sorry. That situation came up after Low Tier God turned Phil down for that whole friendly, Street Fighter match or event that Phil wanted to hold. Low Tier God turns that down, then all of a sudden Low Tier God gets banned for a month. Not saying that Phil is drawing from his Italian heritage and strong army people, but that is a pretty interesting situation in its own right. But that's neither for ill or no. In any case, Low Tier God's ban is a bit of a tragedy. We will talk about that further in a future broadcast. Because it's funny how Low Tier God just got back into the mix and all of a sudden he's been banned. And it's all over this guy, King Tut, who's throwing his money around like it's, cake confetti. It's real strange. And the thing is if we go along with that theory, is that how pathetic Phil is? Now, granted, most of you would say yes. Yes, absolutely would. But what would be the repercussions if Low Tier God ever found out? If, let's say this theory is true, what do you think the repercussions are going to be for Phil if Low Tier God ever found out that DSP had him banned off the platform just because they were sharing a mutual pay whale? And I'm not even saying Low Tier God has to do anything to get him. Low Tier God's fan base will do it. And if you guys are paying attention to what's going on with that whole Better Health situation, and what the Ralph retort ended up doing to Boogie the other night, where they ended up raiding him and whatnot, like that could easily happen to DSP, and DSP can't really stop it. He's gonna have to just take everything that comes along with that. I don't know. That's something to think about, though. Just putting that out there. Shouts out to James the Lesser Express Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. You guys all know the slogan. It's time to watch me work.
Warning. What you may see right now is going to be absolutely disgusting. It's up to you if you want to. Don't feel pressured. He's just asking, would you give me a kiss on the cheek? Would you? We have 4 new emotes in the chat today. 4. So we've got a new Deathface emote. Deathface, as you know, was always the antagonist of my Project 7 series from years and years and years ago. There's a new Angry emote. There's also a huh emote for when I get confused in video games and don't know what the hell's going on, which is very frequent. So that one should probably be used a ton.
Now here's the thing. He's just now implementing these. You're just now starting to use these things. Why? These things should have been used in the beginning. You know what I mean? These are all things that people used to clown him for and laugh at it. He could have profited off of all this a year ago. But now he wants to implement them. Now all of a sudden he sees the error in his ways and he wants to kind of prosper off himself. This right here is no different than This Is How You Don't Plays. He could have done this years ago and made some money off of it. But he always has to be the last one to the party. Like literally the party's over. And now all of a sudden he wants to show up and be the life of it because no one's there. But I guess in his own head he's okay with that. Just because, Phil, you sit in an empty room all day and record doesn't make you special. It doesn't make any of us special. It's madness. Let's continue.
And then we've got the Banhammer Emote. And of course, people already up in arms about this emote. Oh my god, how could Phil have a negative emote? Banhammer, oh my god. Dramatic, toxic content. Negative, toxic behavior on Twitch. Yep, I'm toxic.
So listen, these emotes are here, they're new. Please feel free to use them if you're a current sub. If you're not a current sub, if you subscribe, you can start using them right away. And I'm not saying that they're permanent. They're not. They're kind of just placeholders, things that people just made, ideas that they had, and I said, what the hell? Add them because, you know, we have these spots. With all these empty spots, we might as well add these emotes, okay? So I did. Alright, so, you know, use them and enjoy them. If people submit different ones or better ones, I'd be more than happy to swap out. If there's emotes people don't like, I can easily replace them, okay? Colonel Douglas Mortimer. Cheers to 10 years of hate. Thanks for all the entertaining content over the years. Phil, even though I don't really agree with that, as you guys know, my moniker, the King of Hate, is not because I hate. It's because people hate on me, and I use that hate to motivate myself to do better and to persevere. That's really what the King of Hate moniker means.
I know you're lying.
Although a lot of people don't understand that.
That's not true. In the FGC, it was said that the reason why he was called the King of Hate is because he always had an excuse when things didn't go his way. And he just generally had a really negative, kind of shitty personality. Phil would call that bravado, but that's what a lot of people really make of it. And though some people were, I would say, willing to look past it and whatnot, I think in the overall, he was just looked at as a really negative, rather pitiful individual. And hence the reason why, for someone who's been around as long as he has, and even with, and I use the term loosely, his accomplishments, he'll never get the recognition that a Daigo or any of these, or any of the legends, Alex Valle, none of these guys, he'll never get the type of the recognition that any of them have. And he feels in some ways, oh, well, I've beaten some of those guys. I don't think he's ever beaten Alex Valle, but he's beaten some of these guys before. He should, you know, he should be put into the conversation, but he'll never be there, ever. You know what I mean? Ever. He'll always be looked at. He'll always be kind of pushed into that dark corner of the FGC. Hence the reason why he, what was that, earlier this year, when he had that mix-up where he supposedly brought a knife to Evo. It was not true. He had it mistaken for somebody else. But you can pass something off like truth, or as the truth, and you would get away with it because, oh, it's Darkside Phil, he's a piece of shit. Of course that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And yet again, it took a detractor to clear that up, which still is rather funny in its own right. You know what I mean? So it's that's really what the King of Hate should stand for. It should be 10 years of contradicting himself, of ripping people off, of bullshitting, of making excuses for failing at almost everything and swearing up and down that people only say that because they're jealous of him. Even when it comes from his own fan base. Even when it comes from people who give him money. Oh, you guys are just haters. You're just haters. Make of it what you will. Dspnews.
It's never, oh, it's the guy who just sits here and hates on games all day. That's not what it is. A lot of people sadly had that misconception because they never did 5 seconds of research to actually find out because they're lazy. But it is what it is, you know. Some people will always have those misconceptions. But thank you for the support.
He's right. Snort right. The reality is so much worse. If you don't believe us, look at the last couple of sponsorships from this year. The proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like, anytime you go back and you look at DSP, if you Google search him, whatever video that you pop up, it's his voice. It's him talking. No one manipulated it. No one altered it. It's him saying what he's saying. Or it's him doing what he did. How is there some type of misconception about what the situation was? You did it to yourself. And you can never really hide that from anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. I don't know. Like I said, more excuses.
And yes, thank you very much. King of Hypocrisy just cheered. He says, with your streaming twice a day, uploading videos, having a certain elements following you everywhere you go on the internet, you feel like you're living in a real-life Truman Show. I'll be honest, at one point I did. When I used to record everything around me, right? Everything I did around me, I would record the food I ate and DSP tries it, or take a picture of a meal that I was eating for the first time. I would vlog when I went out. I would then sit down and game all day. Like, everything I did was recorded and documented for the public consumption. And, yeah, at that point, you know, it really did feel like I had nothing private, that everything in my life was public. And, you know, to some extent it was nice for a while, until basically people turned it into a really gross, negative thing, taking information about me and using it to twist it into contorted, nasty stuff, making half-truths about me and trying to spread them all over the internet.
And laughing it up because of the hideous scam of me saying that I had tax issues this year, right? Me just sitting back and laughing my ass off at how stupid these people are.
Really messed up stuff, you know? And a lot of people hurt me using my public information that I put out there. And in the last year, I basically tried to completely change that. I said, I'm not going to share everything. I will share some stuff, things that I deem special or things that I think is nice to share, and it will not hurt myself or my relationship with my girlfriend Kat or anything like that. But that being said, if you've noticed, the last year I really scaled it back. Even though I'm still on here on stream tons every single day, I don't really talk about the private stuff that much anymore. Guess what? I'm not going to lie, my life's been a lot better, man.
Duh.
Like, what I have with Kat is amazing. We don't have to worry about people fucking with us or saying nasty shit about us or our private stuff all the time anymore. We don't have to worry about people stalking us, you know, because we have stuff that we do that we keep private. Our private time is amazing. And, you know, sadly, I've learned over the 10 years I've been a content creator. Here we are, the 10th anniversary. Sadly, the internet is just not a mature enough or safe enough place to be able to share your entire life. It's just not. People will, for whatever fucking reason, try to do malicious shit to hurt you if you put too much stuff out there publicly. And so this last year has been a lot.
Now, let's hit this from a couple different angles. One, he wanted peace of mind with Kat, and that's why they don't put out everything that they do. I think what it is that he knows what Kat's past is, and he's afraid of that being brought up. Because, to be honest, if at least what I've read is true, that shit is dark. It's kind of dark. And I would assume she wouldn't want that shit hitting the light of day. I would assume that she wouldn't. It's not exactly a good look. Like, her upbringing isn't great. And that's something that if you could forget about it, I'm sure you would. That's the first part. Second thing I should say is he can't profit. If nothing else, DSP made himself the Truman Show. He put his life out there in such a way that you could literally have 24-hour access to some degree to what he was doing at all times. Excuse me. And what ended up happening was he became too comfortable. He became way too comfortable. He didn't know how to put up any boundaries. He didn't know how to use moderation. So he brought people in to not just his video game content, but then what would be considered behind the scenes, if you will. And in turn, when he started contradicting himself, if he wasn't already doing that in the beginning, people questioned him on it, or people called him out because they knew what the truth was, because they knew about so much of his life, and they had known about what he had done and where he had done it and who he did it with, because he told us. It wasn't hard to background check any of that. I think what Phil was hoping for was his reputation and his viewership would allow him to have a pass, and that's not what happened. I think his fan base looked at it and were like, "What are you doing, Phil? Like, why would you say that when you told us this?" And what happened was it ended up being a break of trust. And you'll find as a YouTuber, that trust is everything. You know what I mean? If you look at some of these YouTubers who are caught up in certain shit now, it was because they used the trust that people had instilled in them and who had gave them and ended up flipping it for profit. And that in itself is problematic on a bunch of different levels. But one of the bigger problems are the YouTuber, if we'll use the YouTuber for example, themselves are being used. Not only are you passing something off on your fan base saying that it's one thing when it's really another, but the trust that they have in you when they have a bad experience, or if it's ever exposed as something more than what it really was, falls back on you because they had enough faith and trust in you to do it. Phil is no different. Phil has put his fan base in some pretty shitty situations because of choices that he made. It is what it is. He's passed off some, I would say, more or less questionable things for profit. Because Phil doesn't move or doesn't do anything unless he's being paid for it. Unless there's a profit. Unless there's some type of incentive to do it. It's just how Phil is and how he moves. The problem comes down to, like a lot of YouTubers, so it's not just Phil, is they only see the dollar signs. They don't see anything else but that. But Phil is a little bit different, that not only does he see those dollar signs, but he looks at his fan base as dollar signs. And nothing more. They don't have any meaning. You guys don't have any usefulness outside of this. You know? If in a lot of ways, he has Galtopia chopped up into Northern Galtopia, which would be Twitch, Southern Galtopia, which would be YouTube, and then in the middle, which you actually call Central Galtopia, it's full of all the idiots who give him money. And the moment that they stop or they can't give him money or whatever the case may be, all of a sudden they're banned. And that's it. That's all he ever really needs from them. And nothing more. And I think that in itself is rather problematic. So when he lies about one thing that he says he's going to do, and then a few months later he doesn't do it, and he says, oh, well, I never said that I was going to, and people bring up the footage and exactly where in the video when he says he does, that becomes problematic. So either A, just be honest with people because you have yourself a very large public image and the fact that people know so much about you already. So just be honest with people moving forward, or just stop doing it. And so for him, he chose to stop parading cat because no one would pay him to do it. He tried to pass off that monthly cooking show or bi-monthly cooking show, and he couldn't get it to sell. And he tried that, what, 2 months in a row? And he still couldn't make that happen? That tells you something. DSP News.
Different for me. My life, in my opinion, my quality of life has jumped dramatically, and I am in a much better positive place in my life than I was, you know, just a couple years ago. So, yeah, in my opinion, I've seen the light, and I do think there's a balance, and I think I finally found that and struck that balance, and now things are working out much better. Okay?
You know, I came into this YouTube era for this. I want to watch some faggot insult some homo. You go on YouTube. I want to watch some guy throw around all kinds of insulting slurs constantly. Well, you go to YouTube.
The honest troll cheered says, a Banhammer emote? I asked you once if you'd ever have a band-related emote, and you said you don't want any negative emotes.
Very, very, very hypocritical.
Look at that. That's just sad. That's just sad. But yet again, it's just a cash grab. It's just a way of moving forward and grabbing off using a trend that people before him have already been using. You know, that's what Get Your Ass Banned was for Low Tier God, for example. It was no different, and he's had that for a long ass time. So DSP is pushing this DSP positive, which 2018, which really just means give me money, and give me money by any means necessary. Oh boy, it's absolutely amusing, riveting even.
Guess what? I didn't make it. It was made overnight. Someone liked, someone made this email. I looked at it. I said it doesn't seem too offensive to me. And I since I had 5 open emote slots, I added it, and immediately people like you started complaining, say, "Oh my god, oh, it's a negative emote. Oh, now the mods are gonna go ban happy and ban everyone with an emote."
It's like a 5-year-old kid, you know.
Well, so far I haven't seen any insanely rampant amount of unwarranted bans on the stream today. If people like it, I'll keep the emote. If people really don't like it and think that it's a problem, I'll get rid of it. It's not a big deal. I have the ability to add and remove emotes on the fly.
And I use that negativity, I use that toxicity to fuel me, right? Oh, it was good.
Hank, what's up,
I
Hank?
use that negativity to fuel me, huh? So I guess that's what he was unleashing on that pre-stream. Okay. As it pertains to, oh, I didn't make them, this was made overnight, yada, 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 yada. You're still implementing them. You're still presenting them to your fan base. And who cares who made them or who didn't? You accepted them. But then again, Phil accepts everything that's given to him. So, I mean, that's what ended up getting him in trouble with all those pre-streams a couple years ago. Because he just accepted anything that someone regurgitated out to him. And why wouldn't he? No skin off his back. It was easy to go with. And I think it's that lack of effort and that lack of foresight is why people can take advantage of him. And believe it or not, people do take advantage of Phil. Because they can. Because they know how to work him. Which isn't that hard, apparently. Like I said, look at how Tevin had him all shooken up. For fuck's sake. The guy did a pre-stream saying how much Tevin hurt him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that shit isn't on some next level silliness, I don't know what is. Dspnews.
Hank just tipped me $5. Thank you very much. He says, just take your time with Dragon Quest and enjoy it like a lot of us do. That's exactly what I'm planning to do, Hank. I seriously don't want to have a situation where, oh no, now I can't play Dragon Quest anymore. Or, the pace that I've played it, and the fact that I know I do have a hardcore dedicated viewer base for the game, even though it's not a ton of people. The people who do show up for Dragon Quest are awesome. We have chill, fun, interactive streams, and you guys are supportive as well. That's the other thing. A lot of people say, oh, how could Phil keep playing a game if he's getting 200 viewers a stream? The people who are there support, man. They support me. They're supporting my desire to play a very lengthy, classic throwback JRPG, okay?
Yes, money is a priority. It has to be. I have to pay the bills to stay here and do this as a job.
And that's allowing me to do this, how I want to do it. So, thanks to everyone very much who has, supported me and allowed me to play a wide variety of games as a variety streamer. It's really awesome that you guys are supportive and allow me to play a long-ass JRPG like Dragon Quest during this hard, busy gaming season, very busy with everything else. It's pretty awesome,
These people are so dumb, they just keep spending the money on it. And, until people wise up and stop with that shit, it's just going to continue. The pattern will always continue.
How's the gout, Phil?
I really like Phil's self-reflection there. Like, he's exposing the con game to you because you know he sits there and he thinks about it like, why do these idiots keep giving me money? I don't do anything. I don't earn it, but you guys keep giving me money. You know what I mean? Like that, like his Christmas stream last year and the Thanksgiving stream. Whether it's true or not about that whole tax situation, I don't know. But if it isn't true and it was a con game, it might have been one of the best ones he pulled. It might have been one of the best ones. People were throwing money at him hand over fist, and he couldn't grab it fast enough. You know what I mean? He just couldn't. And I think that in itself is what makes Phil dangerous in a lot of ways, because you shouldn't have so much control over your population where you can get away with what would be considered blatantly taking advantage of them. And it's not even, and keep in mind, if you follow any detractor on Twitter, you can see tweets talking about you guys who are out there trolling, you guys are giving him X hundreds of dollars a month. Stop. You know what I mean? And they make a good point when they do that. The sad thing is that that's what it's come down to. Like, at the end of the day, Phil is as dependent on that money as is anything else, which makes Phil a bit problematic, right? Because at the end of the day, he can pretty much peddle anything and get away with it. And yet again, he's providing this environment for these young kids to come up in and think it's okay. And that in itself, I think, is the worst part of it all. But I don't know. That's neither here nor there. Some parents need to really just watch their kids. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to run around here and say, oh, video games are too violent. Where are the parents at? Who are the ones who bought the games for them? You know, last time I checked, don't we have like a rating system on video games? Well, I think some content creators need to be looked at too. Look at YouTube. If they feel that in any way your stuff is overly sexualized or whatever the case may be, they won't present it to younger people, and they shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? My content is one of those examples. You know what I'm saying? And shit. Speaking of which, the ladies of GTG calendar will be coming back, so look out for that. But there should be at least some. But there, outside of having some crazy regulations, I think really parents just need to just be a little bit more. Some parents need to be just a little bit more responsible about what their children are consuming. But the thing is Phil, crazy as this is going to sound, has raised a small demographic of people. You know, some of them stumbled upon his work when he was in middle school, maybe even high school to some degree, and then all of a sudden they grow up to be pieces of shit like Phil. It is what it is, I guess.
Oh my God! Here's another one. How's the gout, Phil? Another idiot. This is great.
How's that gout?
How's that gout? Who was it? Hold on, now I have to freaking manually mute everyone.
How's that Seattle air, Phil?
Yes, I want to play a game, yes.
Alright,
Yes.
you will. Don't worry, you will. I just gotta find out who this idiot is now. Say it again. No, say it again. Say, how's that gout? Go ahead.
How's that Seattle air?
Come on, say it again. I mean, you're so dumb, I know you'll say it again. Say it. Say, how's that gout? Come on.
So with the gout, how's your daughter? What's the gout?
He's still saying it. How's the gout? How's the gout? How's the gout? Oh, parent, how's the gout? Give me a cracker. Wow. What pasta do you prefer? I prefer a penne. Oh! Easy to eat. Oh! Phil's a faggot. Phil's fat.
Oh boy, this was actually a little shorter than I thought. Well, I guess we're just gonna have to bite the bullet on that one. The emotes are trash, and he's only now trying to capitalize off of his negativity when he should have done that years ago. But that is what it is. And as it pertains to his 10 years of hate, I think the more he talks about it, the more deep down, not on the surface per se, but deep down, he sees his flaws and he sees his shortcomings and he hates it. And he hates it, but he knows that he can't deny it. And it's kind of it's just how it is. he can't escape it. And I would say maybe he can make the next decade better for himself, but is it even really worth it? Is it really worth it? But in truth, can he even do anything else? This is all he knows. And he's really, really shitty at it. Which is even to that of a detractor is kind of depressing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on at GTG Networking Productions. I'm your host / anchor GTG, and I'm signing off. End the broadcast.